The 1950s is commonly referred to as the golden age of capitalism. In a post-war era, the United States was booming with progress. Soldiers returned from the front lines, and family values became the central focus of American life. But while history would have us believe that America was in its prime, a dark stain colored our nation's past. Despite the American dream mentality of the 1950s, the country was immersed in what historians today refer to as the Red Scare, fear of Soviet Russia communism infiltrating the American government. Originating in the late 1940s, post-World War II, the American fear of USSR spies grew rapidly, eventually thrusting the country into a state of hysteria into the 1950s. Named for its symbolic red flag, the Soviet Reds represented everything un-American about the United States democratic society. These political tensions between the two international superpowers would heighten to become a decade-long political and economic clash known as the Cold War. While the Cold War spanned for decades, it most notoriously is remembered for its threat of nuclear warfare. For many Americans, the fear of nuclear war and the atomic bomb remained a fresh wound, with images of the bombing of Hiroshima covering the pages of American newspapers. As more and more Americans began to fear the repercussions of tensions with Soviets, many raised concerns of Soviet spies infiltrating the U.S. government and threatening national security. On March 21, 1947, President Harry S. Truman issued Executive Order 9835, also known as the Loyalty Order, which mandated that all federal employees be analyzed to determine if they were sufficiently loyal to the United States government. This government witch hunt quickly evolved into a state of hysteria, with the American people fearful that anyone could be a communist. To further perpetuate this anti-communist fear, first-term Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy gained national attention when he declared to have 205 names of known communists working in the United States government. Known as McCarthyism, 1950 through 1954 became a time of paranoid hunting for communist infiltrators. McCarthy notoriously targeted writers and entertainers who were labeled as communist sympathizers. Their trials were publicly televised, with hearsay and unsubstantiated evidence driving much of the proceedings.
I am not and never have been a communist. I am not and never have been a fellow traveler. I am not and never have been a supporter of, a member of, or a sympathizer with any organization known to me to be or suspected by me of being controlled or dominated by communists.
Known as the Hollywood Blacklist, over 320 artists were blacklisted and as a result were unable to continue work, lost passports, or were even jailed for refusing to give false names of other potential communists. Outraged by McCarthy's fear-mongering and false accusations, playwright Arthur Miller retaliated through his fictional and allegorical story The Crucible, which followed the Salem witch trials of 1692. Within 3 years, Miller was called before McCarthy and the House of Un-American Activities Committee and held in contempt of Congress for refusing to give names of other known communists within the entertainment community. This communist witch hunt continued until April of 1954, when McCarthy held a televised trial where he publicly accused the United States Army of communist infiltration. In what is marked as the downfall of McCarthy's credibility, the soft-spoken and intellectual lawyer Joseph Welch, representing the United States Army, lashed out at Senator McCarthy, asking, "Have you no sense of decency?" as the courtroom erupted into applause.
Or your recklessness.
Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
This publicized trial eventually led to McCarthy's downfall and censure from the Senate, thus bringing an end to his reign of terror. To date, Senator Joseph McCarthy remains one of 9 senators in the history of the United States to be censured for detrimental and inappropriate conduct. Joseph McCarthy died in 1957 at the age of 48 and remains one of the most villainous political figures in United States history.